As many of you know, I enjoy spirits, also known as alcohol. And so in that sense, I enjoy collecting it. And I apologize, the only one I had was of my cat trying to get over to the liquor collection. I enjoy cooking with it. Many of you have enjoyed the cupcakes that have been brought in. I enjoy the craft of it. It's actually, there's a lot to making a proper cocktail that many people aren't aware of. I enjoy visiting cocktail bars all over the world. I've actually been to a number of them, some of the best in the world, and it's really cool. And on occasion, I enjoy a beverage or two to celebrate. So with that being said, I picked just one spirit to talk about because there's so many and there's so many cool things you can do about it. And I picked rum because it's a pretty cool spirit. Why? Why is it cool? Because you get rum cake and pina coladas and pirates. Come on, who doesn't love pirates? Just a cool quote, rum makes a fine hot drink, a fine cold drink, and is not so bad from the neck of a bottle. Fortune magazine actually said that in 1933, and I really don't think anyone would disagree with that. So, the actual making of rum is quite a process. They still cut the sugarcane. The picture over here, that's actual sugarcane. Many places in the world, they still cut it by hand with a machete. It is a very grueling process, but that's how it's always been done, and it works, so why break it? Rum production begins with the sugarcane. It's cut, and it's brought to the various mills that the different producers work with. And the cut cane is then crushed, and the actual sugarcane is extracted, and that begins the actual process of 3 different stages that it can then go into. The first stage is directly fermenting and distilling the sugarcane juice. The second is cooking down the sugarcane into a syrup, which is then fermented and distilled. And then the third, which is how rum is actually produced, is processing the juice into molasses, and then the molasses is then distilled and fermented. So backing up to that first process where the sugarcane is directly fermented and distilled, the juice from that actually produces what's called cachaça. And I don't know if anybody has been to Brazil or is familiar with cachaça, but it is not rum. It's a very big argument between mixologists, brand ambassadors, anybody in the spirit industry in the United States, because cachaça in the rest of the world is its own category because it is produced directly from the sugarcane, while rum is a byproduct of molasses. They are completely different distillation processes. The United States is the only country in the world that classes cachaça as rum, which it is not. In 2012, it was finally agreed via a meeting between Brazil's person and actually Obama and the food trade, and the US finally agreed that it would give a subcategory under rum, and it can be called Brazilian rum. So it's still not its own, but it's a step forward. The difference between the two, obviously, is the distillation, how it's made. Cachaça is actually the 3rd most consumed spirit in the world after vodka and soju, obviously based on population of different places, vodka being the most consumed anywhere. Taste difference, cachaça is actually very much like tequila. There's different levels of aging. There's different barrels they age it in. The same can be done with rum, but you get light rum, medium rum, dark rum, and while the tastes are different, it doesn't get the aging process. Rum can be distilled anywhere and bottled anywhere. Cachaça must be made in Brazil. So there is quite the difference. I got off of my side tangents, and this means something to me because I actually used to be a brand ambassador for a cachaça company, and it was a very sore spot to me when people said, it's just a rum, because it's not just a rum. Once the processes are done, the juices are extracted, and it's processed into molasses. It's then fermented and distilled, and once that process is done, it varies by distillery, hence having so many different choices of rum. There are hundreds and hundreds of different choices of rum. Everyone has their favorite. Some people don't like rum at all, and my favorite happens to be Havana Club. I love Havana Club. It's always been my favorite. I don't cook with it. You can drink it neat. You can very mixable. It's a really good rum. It is made in Cuba, so therefore you cannot buy Havana Club in the United States. I doubt any of you have seen it. If you have, that means you're a foodie or you really enjoy cocktails. A handful of bars here have it. You would have to ask for it, and you would probably have to know who's behind the bar to get it. I had some Saturday night. There are different grades of Havana Club. The ones with the asterisk beside it are sitting on my shelf at home right now. The one with 2 asterisks is my favorite. The 15-year is actually really nice as well. It's hard to come across. I found it at an airport in Costa Rica a couple of years ago for $7 a bottle. I was pretty excited, and I bought as many bottles as I could and brought it home. You can actually buy it in Mexico. You can go to Rocky Point, and you can go into any side liquor store and buy Havana Club because they do not have the embargo. You can bring it back. You know, you're not going to get in trouble for it. It's not a big deal. If they ask, I wouldn't tell. There's a big legal battle, actually, with Havana Club and Bacardi. Bacardi bought the rights from the family that created Havana Club. They bought the rights, and for the last 12, 14 years, they've been battling with the company in Cuba, Pernod Ricard, who is also a very big, they're a company that owns a number of spirits, and they distribute them over the actual trademark because they have the trademark in Cuba, and Bacardi has the rights in the United States. Bacardi wants to reproduce Havana Club. They have the original recipe, but until they get the trademark, they cannot. And Pernod Ricard is saying, no, we're in Cuba, we're producing it, we're sold worldwide. It's one of the #1 rums in bars around the world, so it's very much a revenue maker for them, and they don't want to give that up. Bacardi only wants to sell it in the United States, so it's not really as big to them. So there's still a battle, and it still has not been settled between them, and we don't really know when it will be. Some fun facts about rum, other than it's fun to drink. Was this you guys this weekend? August is National Rum Month. August 16th is National Rum Day. I did not check my calendar, but I'm sure we will be doing some sort of baking that day. It's the first branded spirit to ever have been made. The first production dates going back to the 17th century. Colonies on the East Coast were producing it and consuming it a lot. 12 million gallons were consumed by the early colonists. Today, Americans only consume about 30 million gallons annually. So if you go back that far, they were drinking a lot. They didn't have anything else to do. The British Navy used it to give to their sailors to ward off scurvy. Does anyone know what scurvy is? Yes, it's a very big lack of vitamin C. It was believed to help with that. It was actually a dash of lime that they added to the rum that helped prevent it. And it was a dash, a very little dash. Rum has obviously had a long association with piracy. You know, the early English privateers started trading rum because it was valuable, and they started drinking it. And as the more they drank, the more they couldn't stop drinking it. The privateers became pirates, and their fondness for the drink never went away, and that's how we have pirates today. So, and the one I thought was pretty interesting, almost every country has their own rum. India, China, a lot of countries you wouldn't think of actually have their own rum. But 80% of the world's rum comes from the Caribbean, and nearly every island in the Caribbean actually produces its own distinct style. So that's where we get the majority of them. I believe Myers Dark Rum is currently the oldest rum, if you date back, that still exists, and they date back to like the 1800s. They've been around a long time. Along with fun facts and a lot that you can do with it, there's a lot of history with rum drinks and the history of the world and how rum came about. So one of the books that I thoroughly enjoyed that actually made me think to do my talk on rum was this book. I read it on the beach, enjoying rum cocktails in Africa a couple years ago, and it's really cool. I love history, and it gives a history of the New World, a really interesting one, like things I never learned in history class, and how rum and different drinks associated with that. And there's actually a really cool NPR interview as well that was done. You can Google it, and Debbie Elliott was the interview person. You can read the transcript, and it was really cool. She interviews the guy, and they talk about some different things. So if you don't want to read an entire book, you can read her NPR interview. And last but not least, I promised Arash not too long ago, maybe on his birthday or before, that I owe him cupcakes. So coming soon. Sorry guys on the diet. Boring, sucks for you. There will be spiced rum cupcakes. So that's rum in a nutshell. So.